Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Korrmotive and welcome to 2025. This is the new Skoda Kodiaq. Yes, I have decided to appear in front of the camera again for these car reviews because I suppose it looks better now that you've all seen my face, and also my long-suffering girlfriend, who is currently standing behind the camera, recently graduated college, so she's back to help me out film these videos. Anyway, the new Skoda Kodiaq, the second generation model, which came out last year. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more practical, and it's a little bit better in every single way. As you can see, the new Kodiaq looks almost the same as the old one. It's more of an evolutionary rather than a revolutionary styling approach, though it is basically brand new underneath. It's based on the MQB Evo platform, which is a slightly updated version of the previous generation car. And it is still Skoda's largest SUV, now being just a little bit larger in every single dimension compared to the first generation model, which came out in 2017. Let's start, as we normally do, with the styling and the front end of the Kodiaq, where you have those dual layered headlights. I know what you're thinking, and no, they are not upside down headlights, they are the right way up. The larger piece on the top are the headlights themselves, and the bottom is the fog lights, or the bad weather lights, as the commenters on the Skoda Octavia video informed me. There's also the new grille design in the front. The grille is also offered with a light up feature, if you're into that for some reason. This one, thankfully, does not have that. And on the bottom you can see those brake cooling ducts and what have you. And overall, the front end is aggressive, assertive, but also very easily recognizable. Next, we have the side profile, which is pretty much identical to the previous Kodiaq, other than the obvious difference in length and the larger rear overhang. And also, next we have the side profile, which is almost the same as it was before, other than the obvious difference in length compared to the previous Kodiaq and the larger rear overhang. As you can see, this one is on 19-inch wheels. You can also get 20-inch wheels and 18-inch wheels. I think these look pretty nice, but I prefer the look of the 20-inch wheels, though I'd imagine they kind of spoil the ride quality and the off-road capability, which we will get to. Also, that's plastic trim on the C-pillar back there. You can have that in silver as well as black like it is here. I think that's tied to the all-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive thing, but I'm not exactly sure on that. Finally, we have the rear end, which again is quite similar to the previous generation car, with the exception of what appears to be a rear light bar. But disappointingly, it's not actually a fully functional light bar. The pieces on the outside, of course, on either corner, they work, they are the taillights, but the piece in the middle doesn't light up at all. There's also the new Skoda script written across the tailgate, you can see, and the Kodiaq badge on the left. The lack of a 4x4 badge on the right should clue you in that this Kodiaq is front-wheel drive, but we'll get to that as well. Let's move on to usually what is the next item of discussion in these videos. The cargo area and the key fob. You've seen this key fob a million times, I won't bore you with it. It's still shiny rubber and gets covered in fingerprints very easily. But anyway, hold down the tailgate release button and it opens up automatically for you. Excuse me. This is perhaps the best way to demonstrate how big the cargo area in the Kodiaq is, because I can fit in here just fine. I mean, my head is brushing on this thing because I need to clear it. Ah, there we go. I fit fully in the tailgate, and if I take the stupid parcel shelf out of the way, I would probably fit entirely. So if somebody wanted to kidnap me in here, they could. Okay, enough of this shenanigans. Let me show you what else you can do in here. So anyway, here's the actual cargo area in the Kodiaq. So this is how much space you have inside. There's all my equipment bags, you know of those already. To fold down the rear seats, you need to pull these levers. There's one here and one here. I said that in the UK pronunciation, it's levers, pardon me about that. Here's a little fold-away hook to hang shopping bags and stuff like that. Here's a little 12-volt outlet which has been left open for some reason, but you do have that, and another hook over there. Various different tethering points. You can see one in there, and there's an extra bit of storage, and a spare wheel. So overall, super, super practical and truly massive. I don't know how well this comes off on video, but it is a massive, practical, and well-shaped cargo area. When you're done, you push your button, or the key fob, whichever one you prefer, and the tailgate closes for you. What about space in the back? I just realized the car is locked, so I can't do my little thing. But luckily, the presence of a ridge for the keyless entry system on this door handle means I can unlock the car. No, I can't. Okay, anyway. What about the space in the back seat? Something that in theory, this car should excel at. Well, let's have a look. Of course it excels at space in the back. So this seat is in a comfortable driving position for one average adult. My stats are 5'11" and a half, 1.8 meters tall. And as you can see, massive amounts of legroom in here. And headroom is also spectacular. No problem traveling really long journeys in the back of this car. I can totally see myself doing such a thing. Ah, but wait. You can now see the interior room from a different angle. Well, you've seen this angle before, but it's now finally back. Anyway, to prove it, plenty of knee room. I'm sitting upright. There's plenty of headroom as well. And your standard fare fold-down armrest with 3 individual cup holders. So the Kodiaq's rear seats are a fantastic place to spend time. We have some seat pockets here with that little smaller bit for storing your phone. This one will file a restraining order against me as well, probably. Climate zone controls, climate vents, USB-C, and 12-volt outlet. And also, as you can see here, the floor is actually not as tall as you might think, considering you can get the Kodiaq with all-wheel drive. Apologies for the dirt there. So, in theory, the middle seat should not be the biggest compromise. And it's not. You do sit just a little bit higher in the middle seat, but there's still plenty of headroom and legroom. So if you do get the middle seat, it's not so bad. Finally, let's make our way to the front. Keyless entry system works exactly as you'd expect. There's a little indentation on the door handle. You push that to lock the doors and the mirrors fold in. And then when you're ready to go, you grab the door handle and open the door just like so. Being that this Kodiaq is not fully optioned out, it does not have a leather interior. It instead has this soft cloth pattern here. It's like this little denim, I guess you could say pattern. It feels kind of like denim, but it actually isn't, with some yellow stitching around the seats themselves. Incidentally, it does have the power adjustable driver's seat with memory settings, but the passenger seat is manual. And you might have spotted the ambient lighting around the place. We'll get to that in a moment. And now we are inside the new Kodiaq, and we will begin, as normal, with starting it up. Standard procedure, your foot goes on the brake. The starter button is still here for some reason, but anyway, you push that and boom! If you know even the littlest bit about Skoda, you'll recognize this steering wheel. It's in basically every single one of their cars, but as of recently in the Kodiaq, it gets rid of the logo in favor of the Skoda script, which is the company's latest logo. Not sure how I feel about that, but anyway, standard stuff. Voice commands and media controls are on this side, and stuff to do with safety systems and the gauge cluster screen is here. And in the middle, you have the horn, which for some reason I really don't understand, sounds like this. This is the 2-spoke steering wheel. There's also a 3-spoke version. It has some silver work there and a little bit of piano black here. I love the look of it. I don't like that it's not heated. And the leather that they've used here, the steering wheel is very hard still, like the Octavia, but I prefer the smooth leather when compared to the perforated leather that was on that car. The Kodiaq is available with 2 transmissions. Every single Kodiaq, bar the plug-in hybrid, gets a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic DSG. The manual is no longer available, and the plug-in hybrid Kodiaq gets a 6-speed DSG. And that's controlled through this thing. To free up space in the center console, Skoda moved the shifter here, like it is on the MEB electric cars, most of them, and the new Passat and the new Superb. To engage drive, you hold the brake and you twist it all the way forwards. You twist it back halfway or forwards halfway for neutral, and then all the way back for reverse, which brings up your backup camera. This one does not have the 360-degree system, but it does have front and rear parking sensors, and this gets the job done mostly, except for the ridiculously tall and warped aspect ratio. When you're done, you push the P button at the end of this thing, and you're back into park. And while you're in drive, if you push forward once, you go into sport mode, which holds the revs a little bit higher. Incidentally, that's the only semblance of sport mode that this particular Kodiaq has, because it doesn't have selectable drive modes. So I'm not going to waste your time too much with the Kodiaq's interior, because a lot of this stuff you've seen before. If you've watched my Enyaq and Octavia review, you can click on the cards up there or in the description of the video if you want to see some of this stuff in more detail. But the gauge cluster works exactly the same way. It looks exactly the same, except it's missing the fuel and temperature gauges on either side that were in the Octavia, but the layout is the same, the controls are exactly the same, and it can show you the exact same stuff. The infotainment system here, again, identical as in the Octavia and the Enyaq as well. It's Skoda's latest system, and it is fantastic. I thought I would instead focus on the unique Kodiaq features, starting with the absolute best feature in this car, in this interior at least, and easily one of the best features in the entire car industry right now. The smart dials. If you've seen my video at the auto show in Basel last year, you saw me fawn over these things in the new Skoda Superb, but I never explained to you how they work, so let's do that now. As you can see here, these outer two dials currently control the temperature. And you twist them, you know, like a normal dial in a normal car, to adjust your climate control temperature. If you push the dial, you can adjust, turn on or off your heated seats, or if your Kodiaq has a cooled seats equipped, you can control those through there as well. You just have to push it a second time. Here in the middle, you have the fan speed at the moment, but if you push this dial, it'll change to the climate zone, like so, and if you push it again, it changes to the stereo volume. You can actually configure this dial to show you other things, including the drive modes, if you do have that option on your particular Kodiaq, but this one doesn't have that, but I like to keep it with these options that it has right now. And over here, you have your passenger temperature control and the passenger heated seat control, of course, but if you hold down this dial, you can sync the temperatures for both sides. And here you have max front defrost, rear defrost, automatic, and recirculating air. This is genius, and every single new car needs to copy this feature. I absolutely love it. And I will continue to make a case that it's worth the investment. Well done, Skoda. As the shifter was placed here on the column, the center console is now free of burdens like, I don't know, a mechanical shifter, for example. Ooh, it's bad stuff. Here you have a little shelf. There's a Kodiaq logo in there, but you can't see it. Two smartphone wireless chargers, which is great. And in here, if I move my coat out of the way, there is a massive storage area with two cup holders of varying sizes and some additional cup holders and storage in there. You can also select an accessory, a screen cleaner that's wrapped up in microfiber for cleaning the screen and various other bits of shiny trim in here, which is awesome and very thoughtful. And you have a center console with a good amount of storage. Another major difference with the Kodiaq are these much nicer climate control vents, which actually have separate little dials to open and close them. You don't just have to move them in one direction to open or close them. And the Kodiaq also gets a second glove box in the dash, as well as this wonderful soft cloth trim here. The last really major difference with the Kodiaq's interior is obviously due to the shifter on the column. They had to move everything to one stock on this side, and I thought it would take me forever to figure out how to use it, but actually it's not that complicated. So this is your wiper controls, worked in a normal way. You push the button at the end for the washer. There's your rear wiper control. You just push the switch. That's your turn signals, obviously, and that's really all there is to say about that. And here is the cruise control stock. This one, of course, has adaptive cruise control as well. In terms of features and content in the Kodiaq's interior, and the overhead lighting controls as well, that's about all you have. Here's your windows and mirror controls and what have you. Your parking brake is over there, bit of an unusual spot for that. But, for a Skoda, I mean, of course. But everything else is standard Skoda fare, and that's a good thing. Finally, let's touch upon the interior quality and features. Thank you for shutting up there. The interior quality in the Kodiaq is excellent. Everything is soft touch materials just about everywhere you touch, including here, which is not something I've really seen before. The door panels are very soft. Armrest here is great. There's a bunch of soft cloth in there. Good padding on the armrest. The center console is soft touch all the way down to here, which means that the biggest issue with the Octavia, being that this piece of trim is very hard, has been mitigated. There's this lovely pattern going across the dash. It feels nice, feels high quality. And of course the soft cloth trim here with the little yellow stitching carries on to the passenger side as well. And the entire top of the dash is covered in soft touch plastics, and everything is very solid and well put together. So I really wasn't expecting the quality to be any less necessarily, but it's good that Skoda still kept it a huge priority. As for storage, massive door pockets that can hold large bottles and are lined in carpeting. There's a secret storage area in here, which I always enjoy to see. There's the aforementioned shelf and wireless charging solutions for your phone. The big center console you just saw, the other center console, and of course the duo of glove boxes. This one is a bit smaller, but this one is huge and very spacious. So overall, the Skoda Kodiaq's interior, oh, and of course the sunglasses storage in here as well. And the Skoda Kodiaq's interior concludes there. A fantastic place to spend time. Finally, let's talk about the powertrain. This particular Kodiaq is equipped with the base diesel engine, a 2-liter with 150 horsepower. You'll be familiar with this engine. It's the same one that was in the Octavia, and it's a very popular unit here in Europe and especially the Balkans. 0 to 100 kph on this one takes about 10 seconds, while the top speed is about 193 kph or 120-ish miles an hour. The big news about the new Kodiaq was, and still is, the plug-in hybrid version, which offers up to 100 kilometers or 62 miles of electric-only range. That one comes with a 1.5-liter gas engine as the internal combustion engine component of the powertrain, and while it is impressively efficient, you can get that one with 7 seats. You can get the diesel version with 7 seats, however, though this one doesn't have them. There's also a more powerful diesel, a 2-liter with 193 horsepower. That one is all-wheel drive only. And there's the recently revealed Kodiaq RS, which has 265 horsepower, courtesy of a 2-liter gas engine shared with the superb TSI as well. And that one is also only offered with all-wheel drive. So what's it actually like? Let's take the Kodiaq for a drive and find out. So let's get into it, ladies and gents, starting with the experience behind the wheel of the Kodiaq in the city. Now, you're not going to see footage of me driving in the city, because the filming schedule was a little bit different when I had this car, but regardless, let's start with the city driving. So even though the new Kodiaq is a pretty big car, especially for European standards, it's a large D-segment SUV, it was perfectly manageable in the city. The diesel engine is refined and very quiet. You can hardly tell it's a diesel. Okay. People love to say that. It's not really true. You can hear a little bit of diesel clatter, but it's way better than, say, a 1.9 TDI. I can personally confirm that because I used to own one. But a diesel engine also really suits the character of the Kodiaq, but in the city, it is very, very good. And the fuel consumption is also pretty impressive. So considering the size and weight of the Kodiaq, I was able to get around 8 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 6 liters on the highway, which converts to this many mpgs, so that's pretty good. Though I would imagine this would be different if this car had the more powerful engine and if it had all-wheel drive. But to summarize, it's decently maneuverable. I would include the 360-degree cameras just for, peace of mind, but you do have parking sensors and the backup camera that's standard. It's decently manageable in terms of maneuverability. It's relaxed, it's quiet, and it has no issue with town driving. Moving on to the highway, there was a very small amount of wind noise and road noise on the highway. Nothing too crazy or intrusive, so that's good. It's very comfortable, even though this one was on 19-inch wheels. The ride is quite supple and relaxing, and the seats are pretty supportive and comfortable as well. And it didn't really have a problem picking up speed on the highway and being stable at that speed and being able to reach from a certain speed to a certain speed so you can overtake. Could have just said that it doesn't have issues overtaking, but I like to complicate things for no reason. On a serious note, if you do plan to carry a lot of people and things in your Kodiaq regularly, and especially if you want 7 seats, I would skip this engine. I would go for the more powerful 193 horsepower diesel and all-wheel drive, because that has more torque and thus more pulling power for a bigger family or a smaller family with more things to carry. But if you travel light, or if you have a smaller family but you still need the cargo space, or whatever the combination may be for your use case, the 150 horsepower diesel will get the job done for the majority of things depending on your situation. And as for cornering abilities and dynamic driving, I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised. This is not a car that's set up for handling. You're not exactly going to treat it as a sports car when the roads get twisty, but it was surprisingly stable and secure, considering it's, again, really big, really high off the ground, and really tall. It was really secure, and there was hardly any body roll relative to what it is when I was going around corners, which was actually thoroughly impressive. And I actually did take a couple of little off-roading spots here and there to take photos of the Kodiaq, because that type of background suits this type of vehicle, I think you'll agree. And for the what I think is 98% of off-roading that most people are going to do with a car like this, you don't even need all-wheel drive. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong, but for like grassy parking lots or some gravel somewhere, a small gravel road with not too much elevation, I think the front-wheel drive Kodiaq will get the job done just fine. And that's really all there is to say. There wasn't anything majorly annoying about the driving experience, except that the Skoda rear cross-traffic alert and auto emergency braking systems can quite literally probably cause heart attacks, as I discovered the hard way. But other than that, the Kodiaq just kind of does everything without being annoying. It just does things well. And that's a theme with the rest of the car. Nothing was really particularly annoying about it. Nothing really stood out to me as being especially bad or something that you have to put up with. The Kodiaq just does its thing, and it does it very well. Like it always has, really. I've never experienced the first generation Kodiaq, unfortunately, but I've heard great stuff about it, and the second generation definitely fits the bill more than well enough. The new Skoda Kodiaq gets a score of 8.5 out of 10. And that's going to be about it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think of the Kodiaq in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the Guessing Headlights newsletter. There will be a link in the description also, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.